This lesson is on section 3-2, solving addition and subtraction equations. So my first example is to solve the equation x plus 5 equals 1 and to check the solution. Okay, so you can think of some number plus 5 equals 1. All right, so my first step is to write the equation. So I'm just going to rewrite x plus 5 equals 1. Okay, so now my next step is to complete the opposite operation to both sides. So I'm going to identify what operation am I using in this problem. Well, the operation I'm using is adding. So then I need to think about, okay, what's the opposite of addition? Well, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So when it says to complete the opposite operations to both sides, instead of adding 5, like the example says, I'm going to subtract 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the opposite operation of subtraction right under my addition sign. And then I'm just going to subtract 5 from one side of the equation. And notice how I lined up 5 right underneath each other. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from the other side of the equation. My goal is to get rid of 5, just like how we learn in hands-on equations. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line. And this line helps us to simplify my equation. So now what I can say to myself is positive 5 or plus 5 minus 5 equals 0. So this is going to equal 0, and it's going to cross out. So then I'm just going to bring down what I didn't use. I'm going to bring down my x. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. And I'm going to say 1 minus 5 is going to be negative 4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my answer. I'm going to say to myself, and I'm going to plug my answer right back into my original equation. I'm going to say, does negative 4 plus 5 equal 1? Well, negative 4 plus 5 is 1, so 1 equals 1. So that checks out. So my answer truly is x equals negative 4. And we always check our work just to make sure we did it correctly. So that might seem a little confusing, but let's do some more examples to make this a little bit easier. So I have the equation 15 equals t minus 12. And notice the only difference between this one and the last one is, and I can even do this, is I can erase 15 equals, and I can put equals 15 on the other side. Notice I'm going to do that again. What you saw in this equation, you saw 15 equals t minus 12. And your book does a lot of examples like this where they just switch around the equal sign. Again, if this is confusing to you, just rewrite this as t minus 12 equals 15. And I'm going to do the example showing you it this way. Okay, so t minus 12 equals 15. So first I'm going to rewrite this example. Now I'm going to recognize, okay, so what's the operation in this equation? So the operation is subtracting. So I know I have to use add when solving the solution. So instead of saying, so t minus 12 equals 15, I'm going to add 12 to both sides, because minus 12 plus 12 is going to cancel out to 0, and that's our goal, is to get our variable by itself. So notice how I put the subtraction sign, or the adding sign, right under my subtraction sign, and then I'm just adding 12 to my minus 12. So this is going to, so minus 12 plus 12 is going to cancel out. I'm going to bring down my t, or my variable, bring down my equal sign, and I'm going to say 15 plus 12 equals 27. All right, so I'm going to go back and check my work. I'm going to plug in my 27 right back into my original equation. So I'm going to say, does 27 minus 12 equal 15? And 15 does equal 15. So my answer checks out. So my answer to my equation is t equals 27. My next example is y minus 8 equals a negative 12. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this problem. Y minus 8 equals negative 12. All right, so I have to solve for y. I'm going to recognize that in my problem, the operation is subtracting. So I know the opposite of subtracting is adding. So I'm going to add the opposite of negative 8. So I'm going to add, so notice I'm putting the operations right underneath each other. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I'm going to draw my line to simplify. Minus 8 plus 8, that cancels out to 0. Bring down my y. So y is going to equal, because I brought down my equal sign, negative 12 plus positive 8 is going to be negative 4. Now I have to go back and I need to check my work. I'm going to plug in my negative 4 back into my equation. So I'm going to say, does negative 4 minus 8 equal negative 12? And negative 12 does equal negative 12. So then my equation checks out. So my final answer is y equals negative 4. And that brings me to the end of this lesson on solving addition and subtraction equations.